it's Mickey, and in today's video we are resetting ourselves for the month ahead. It's the end of January and we have a little bit of prep work to do before February begins. We're going to be starting our Declutter with Purpose home series where we are trying to reduce the things in our home by 25%. I have some meal prep to do today. I have to prep some lunches for the week ahead and some things for the freezer. So if you are new here, I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe. I put out new videos every week about all things home. So we are going to get started first thing with doing some prep for lunches for the week ahead. You know, it's soup season. We love soup in this house. And today I'm going to be making some crock pot potato soup. This is such an oldie but goodie recipe. I've shared it on the channel before, but it just comes out perfectly every time. And you know, you just make it in the crock pot, so you fix it and you forget it. So what you're going to be needing for this recipe is a 32-ounce package of diced hash brown potatoes. You're going to need some chicken broth. Today I'm just going to be using some vegetable broth. You're also going to need a can of cream of chicken soup. And then for later on in the recipe, you're going to need a block of Philadelphia cream cheese softened. So you're going to need a bunch of different seasonings for this soup. And I like to use, of course, you know, salt and pepper. I have some dried ranch seasoning here. I have some garlic powder, a little bit of parsley, Mrs. Dash, I have red pepper flakes, and I also have some onion powder. So we are going to get started by spraying our crock pot with some nonstick spray, and we'll start adding our ingredients. So I have my diced potatoes here in my crock pot, and I sprayed it with some nonstick cooking spray. One of the things that I forgot to tell you that you're going to need for this recipe is one medium-sized diced onion, so we're going to put that in there. I also was able to find a container of some chicken broth in my cabinet, so I'm going to use this instead of the vegetable broth. So you can pour about 28 ounces in your crock pot here. That looks about pretty good. And then we're going to add our cream of chicken soup. And you want to give this a good stir so that you can mix up the cream of chicken soup along with the chicken broth. And then when you have it pretty well combined, you can go ahead and add your seasonings. Black pepper, dry ranch seasoning mix. I would say probably like a tablespoon. Some garlic powder, a little bit of dried parsley, Mrs. Dash, some onion powder, and then just a little bit of red pepper flakes. Give it another good mix. Make sure everything is really well combined. And then we are going to cover it and cook on low for 4 hours. I'm going to start mine on high for an hour, and then I am going to reduce the heat. I'm going to take a couple minutes and make some lunch for myself, and I thought I would share it with you because I talk about it all the time. I love to make a little pizza for lunch at least like once a week because pizza is my absolute favorite food. And these are the shells that I use. These are Mama Mary's pizza crust. You can get them at Walmart. I mean, are they the best? No, but they're really not so bad. And they're great to just, you know, have in your freezer, pull out, you know, one at a time. Like I have a little one sitting right here. It's starting to defrost a little bit. And I just started to make a little bit of pizza sauce for the top. And then as far as toppings go, I like to have a lot of green pepper. I have a mushroom chopped up here, and then I'll do like 3 slices of pepperoni that I'll, you know, dice up really small and put on top. I like to add Romano cheese, and then I like to add a little bit of mozzarella and provolone shredded cheese on top. So I thought I would share with you what I'm having for lunch today. My oven is all up to temperature, so I'm going to add some tomato sauce to the top of my little pizza crust here. I like a lot of tomato sauce, and I just season this like I would season my spaghetti sauce. So it has like a lot of garlic in it, and basil, a little bit of hot pepper flakes, a little bit of sugar, because I like to add a little bit of sugar to anything that I make with tomatoes. There we go. So I have my tomato sauce on there. I'm going to add a little bit more of garlic powder, and then I'm going to add my veggies. So I have my green pepper, and I really like to pile up the green pepper on here. It's like my favorite topping for pizza. And then we're going to add some mushrooms, spread those out around. And then I have a little bit of pepperoni diced, so I'm just going to top that. Then I like to add a little bit of Romano cheese on top. Like growing up, when my grandma and my mom and everybody would make homemade pizza, this was the only cheese that they would put on it. So it adds such a great flavor, but I do like to add a little bit of mozzarella and provolone cheese too. So there we go. I'm just going to bake it in a 450-degree oven for about 8 minutes, and then it's lunchtime. While our potato soup is cooking away in the crock pot, I'm going to be making some cornbread muffins. And I use the recipe that is right on the back of the Quaker cornmeal package. I have made probably 100 dozen of these corn muffins over the years, and this is really the best recipe that I have come across. The only difference I make is the recipe calls for skim milk, and I always replace that with buttermilk because I find that the results are like night and day. The skim milk, I think, creates a more drier cornbread, and the buttermilk really does make it moist and has so much flavor. So that's what we're going to do today. So in my bowl here, I have all the dry ingredients. I have flour, sugar, the cornmeal, baking powder, a little bit of salt, and then I am going to add a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, a cup of buttermilk, and then I'm also going to add 1 whole egg, slightly beaten. So I have my muffin tin all ready to go. I have it sprayed with non-stick cooking spray, and then I'm just going to divide the batter using just a regular tablespoon. And then we are going to bake these in a 400-degree oven for about 18 to 20 minutes. I've just taken the cornbread out of the oven. You know, there is just something so homey about the smell of cornbread baking in your kitchen. It's like one of my favorite smells. So we're gonna let these cool off a little bit. They're still pretty hot. We have about another 20 or 30 minutes left on our potato soup cooking in the crock pot, and then we'll check it out, see what it looks like, and then we'll add our cream cheese. So our potato soup has been cooking about 3.5 hours or so, so we are going to check on it. So as you can see, the little chunks of potato have softened up, I'm just going to use a potato masher and just kind of mash up a little bit. I like a lot of texture in my potato soup, so I don't mind if there's some, chunks of potato. So we're just going to mash this up a little bit. So the soup is just about done, and I have my thawed cream cheese here cut up into little chunks. You want to make sure that it is pretty well thawed out, because if you add, cream cheese right from the refrigerator, it might cause your soup to lump up a little bit, and you don't want that to happen. So we're just going to put all of the cream cheese in here, and we're going to give it a stir. Now make sure that your crock pot is on low, and then we're going to cover it and cook for maybe about another 20 minutes or so. We decided to have the potato soup for dinner tonight, so I loaded it up with some cheddar cheese, chive, and bacon bits, along with that cornbread muffin. It's the perfect dinner for a chilly night. So with the leftovers, we're going to keep them in the fridge and divide them up for lunches throughout the week. Each day, I send along a small container that has some shredded cheese and chives and bacon, and of course, a cornbread muffin or two. So I wanted to take a couple minutes today to talk about the decluttering series that is going to be starting here on the channel next week. I'm calling it Decluttering with Purpose because purpose is like my word of the year. I just want to go through the house, and if my items don't really serve a purpose for me, I just want to pass them on. I either want to donate them or give them to somebody that I know will be able to use them. I went back and forth about whether or not I wanted to do printables to go along with the series, and I was deciding whether to put them on in my Etsy shop or just have them as free printables. And I decided to just do free printables because I think decluttering is something that most of us struggle with. I mean, whether or not your house is really cluttered or just a little bit, there's always areas of your home that can use a little help. I also thought about whether or not I wanted to do like a challenge where people can sign up and we can go through everything together. And I thought, well, you know what? Oftentimes with these challenges, we all start with the best intentions and then we kind of fall off, and it kind of makes us feel a little bit bad about ourselves. And I wanted this to be something that you can pick up and use it however you need to use it for your home. So that's why I decided to do some printables for you. To start with, they're going to be very general, and then I probably will have a few more printables available as we go through the different rooms in our house. So if it's like a room that you need a little help with, you can print off the sheet that goes along with it and kind of check off as you go. And if it's a room that you really have like all together, you can just pass on by. So what I have to start off for today, I'm going to make them available today in the description box down below. They're going to be free printables that you can print off at home and use them however you need to. And I'm also going to make them available throughout the whole series. So the first printable that I came up with was something that I think, even if you did not have the time to do a big, deep declutter in your home, you can always go around room by room and pick a few things out to either donate or just get rid of altogether. So I created a list of 101 things that you can toss without regret. Now these are things that you can get rid of without even thinking about it. You're not going to look for them. You're not going to need them next week. You know that when you get rid of them, that they are gone. And I have to say, over the years that I have been decluttering my home, there is only one thing that I ever donated that I was sorry that I donated, and it was my purple leather jacket from 1984 that I wish I still had. So on this list are a bunch of things that you can just let go of today and not even look back. And if this is the only thing that you are able to get to in this series, you got rid of 101 things. So I've also put together a few guidelines to go along with our series if you guys are going to follow along with me. Now, I am not a professional organizer by any means, but these are some of the things that I have used in the past that have really worked out for me. It's like really thinking through what you are going to start, the project that you're going to start. You want to do a little homework in the beginning to make the process so much easier for you. So I have just 5 guidelines here that I use when I declutter a space, and I think they would be really helpful, you know, for anyone who is starting out or, you know, has been doing it for a while. It's just a few things to keep in mind to make decluttering easy. The first place that we are going to go to begin this decluttering series is going to be the master bedroom. And I have 2 specific areas in that room that I myself need to declutter, and the first one is the master bedroom closet, and then there is this cabinet in my bathroom that needs a complete overhaul because it is just a disaster area. So what I did was I put together a little printable. I had offered this over the years as a free printable on my channel, and I just kind of, you know, revamped it a little bit, and it is a wardrobe purge checklist. This has really helped me over the years to decide whether or not I want to keep clothing items. And it just basically is 3 questions you ask yourself. It's, does it fit? Do I love it? And do I wear it? And if you can answer yes to each of those questions, then it's like a keeper. But if you have like any doubt within those questions, you know that you can either donate it or, you know, toss it if it's in really bad shape. So those are the 3 printables that we are going to start off with for this series. Again, we are starting this in the beginning of February. It is one that I have been thinking about all month. I've been doing my homework, as they say, trying to put together a cohesive way that I want to systematically go room by room. My goal is to reduce what I have by about 25%. I think that is really doable for someone like me that likes a lot of things. So I have, you know, bedrooms to go through. We're gonna start at the, you know, the top floor of the house and kind of work our way down. We'll probably skip around a little bit because, you know, in any time you do a big decluttering project, there's things that are going to have priority. So I hope you guys are gonna follow along with me. I think this is going to be really helpful. So if you'd like to follow along with us, check out the description box down below for these free printables, and be on the lookout for that first decluttering video out the first week in February. One of the things that I do in the month of January is I try to empty my freezer and pantries. And what we try to do is to cook just what we have on hand and just get, you know, essentials from the grocery store. So we've done a pretty good job because I have a practically empty drawer in my freezer. And today we are going to fill that up. Usually every quarter I will make a huge batch of my uncle's meat sauce. So this is a recipe, I have to be honest, I really don't even know where it came from, but I've always attributed it to my uncles. Now my uncles were great cooks. They didn't cook all the time, but when they did, they made a lot of stuff. And I remember them making this recipe in big batches, usually in the summertime, like on Saturday afternoons. So I'm going to share that recipe with you today. I can't believe that I've never shared it before, but it's one, like I said, I only make a couple times a year, and I usually make it to fill my freezer. You are going to need some very specific ingredients for this recipe. I say specific because it was a joke that you never altered the recipe or like something horrible would happen. So for this recipe, you're going to need some meat products. You're going to need about a pound of good quality ground beef. You're also going to need about a pound of ground pork, not sausage, actual ground pork. So I'm not going to use this whole container. I'm just going to use about a pound of it. You're also going to need a finely diced red onion, not a white onion, a red onion. You're going to need some vegetable broth, about 4 cups. You're going to need a little bit of sugar, some garlic. You're going to need about a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of red wine. This I say that you can leave out because I know a lot of people don't like to cook with alcohol, but honestly the alcohol portion of this will cook off and you will just be left with the really good flavors, and it's just another way to layer flavor in this sauce. You're going to need 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes. You're going to need a 12-ounce can of tomato paste and a 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. You're going to need some basil, oregano, dried parsley, marjoram, some nutmeg, and some red hot pepper flakes. So I have my big pot on the stove. This is the biggest pot that I have, and it will probably fill this almost up to the top. And then I have my big frying pan here that I'm going to put some olive oil in with a little bit of butter, and I'm going to start to brown the meat. So to get this party started, we are going to start to saute our red onion in some olive oil and butter. We're going to give this a few minutes to soften up and get translucent. So I've had this sauteing about 5 minutes, and you can see that the onions are getting light and translucent. I'm going to start to add my ground meat. So I have a pound of ground beef, and this should be about a pound of ground pork. Just start breaking that up a little bit so it can start to brown and mix in your onions. So it's about almost cooked through, and you're going to add some salt and pepper. And then you're going to add your garlic as much as you want. And I suggest that you add a lot because it just makes it better. Now I'm going to use my jar garlic, and if you're wondering, yes, I would have caught so much crap from my family for using this, but you know, hey, I'm a rebel. Alright, so we've got our garlic in there, and we're going to continue to cook this until the meat is all the way cooked through, and then we're going to want to drain off the fat. So we have our pan with all of our ground meat, onions, and garlic set aside, and we're going to start to combine all of the tomato products. So you're going to add to your big pot your can of tomato sauce, your 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, and we're going to rinse these with a little bit of water. You can also use a little bit of broth if you want to, just to make sure you get all of that good stuff. And then our 12-ounce jar of tomato paste. So whenever you use tomato paste, it has like a really intense tomato flavor, and you are going to want to dilute that. And you can use water if you don't have broth. You can use chicken broth, you can use beef broth if you wanted to. Today I'm just happen to be using some vegetable broth. So I'm going to turn the heat on my tomato sauce to medium heat, and then I'm going to add the vegetable broth. And just do it slowly so that you can break up that tomato paste so that it gets nice and combined. To have all of your sauces combined, you're going to add about a half a cup of red wine. And like I said, you can leave it out, or you can just add a little bit extra of like chicken broth. And then we are going to add our drained ground meat. Now that we have everything combined, you can see that my pot is really full. So once this comes to a boil, you're really going to want to watch it so it doesn't end up all over your stove. But at this point, we are going to add our seasonings. I just like to add a little bit of extra garlic because we are big garlic fans in our house. And we have some oregano. Now the actual amounts, I'm not really sure. You're just going to, you know, kind of have to add them until your heart tells you to stop. And that is going to be different for every family. Like I know my family likes more basil than it does oregano. And we all love a lot of dried crushed parsley. So we're going to put probably a couple tablespoons of that in. We also like a lot of red hot pepper flakes. So I'm probably going to put at least a teaspoon of that in. About half a teaspoon or so of marjoram. And a good sprinkle of sugar. I think probably, you know, up to like maybe a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then you're just going to add a few shakes of nutmeg, maybe a little extra. And then you're just going to let this cook, bring it to a slow boil, and just kind of let it simmer for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and then it is done. Then you're going to want to cool it, and then you can put it in your freezer bags or different containers for the freezer, or, you know, just keep it in your fridge to have a big dinner. The sauce is all cooled off, and I have transferred them into some Ziploc freezer bags. I like using bags for sauce because you can take up less room in your freezer because they do freeze flat, and even on the other end they're great because it takes less time for the sauce to defrost before you use it. Now I kept a little bit of sauce in the refrigerator for ziti tomorrow night, and that left me with 3 large bags of sauce for the freezer. So when you put them in the freezer, be sure to kind of scatter them a little bit until they freeze, and then once they're all frozen you can stack them on top of each other. So that's going to do it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching while I got ready for the month ahead. Be sure to check the description box down below for those free decluttering printables, and be sure to look forward to the first video in our decluttering series coming out the first week in February. Be sure to leave me a comment down below and let me know which room in your house that you are most looking forward to clearing out. Be sure to join our communities over on Facebook and Instagram at My Bashful Life. And don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you all back as part of our YouTube family. So until I see you in that next video, I hope that you love the life that you have, be kind to each other, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!